favorite rock bands, certainly one of my favorites of the staples. Now it's kind of hard to pick your favorite band through one's journey through music, but if I had to pick two, of course it'd be Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. But if I factored in some criteria that takes opinion out of it, criteria like longevity, how many studio albums were released, and probably the most deciding factor for me, actually seeing the band live, I would have to go with Pink Floyd. My Pink Floyd story starts in 1987 with Momentary Lapse of Reason. I remember driving home with my friend, riding along with my friend as we were driving home, and asking him, hey man, have you heard that new song on the radio called Learning to Fly or something? He said, yeah, I think the DJ said it was Pink Floyd. And so I said, hey, let's go run down to Camelot Music and pick it up. And we picked up the tape and just really liked that song. And that was really my first introduction to Pink Floyd, besides the song Off the Wall, Another Brick in the Wall. Of course, I thought it was called We Don't Need No Education. I mean, who didn't know that, anti-teacher, anti-establishment anthem for kids? Loved running around as a kid singing that song, but I didn't know who Pink Floyd was really until Learning to Fly hit the radio. So yeah, it probably wasn't a few days or a few weeks after that till I get a phone call from the same friend. And he says, I was talking to my brother the other night, and he said, you've got to check out Pink Floyd, The Wall. He said, this is just an incredible album. My brothers told me to check this out and explained to me that there's nobody named Pink Floyd, and that a guy named David Gilmour and Roger Waters really heads up the band, and to check out this double tape set and give it a listen. So the next day I'm at school, and he's just all about it. He's like, you cannot believe this tape. I was like, well, let me get my hands on it. So I remember getting into the tape and listening to it over and over and just blown away by it and diving into it. And we would go back and forth and discussing what we thought the lyrics were about and trying to read the lyrics on the little J card. I remember trying to figure out what was going on in our own interpretation of The Wall. It was really cool. I quickly went to Wish You Were Here. This happens to be a very nice copy, German pressing on Harvest. And I remember the picture on the back is really interesting, and it ended up surfacing on a Shine On box set. This is back when they didn't have Photoshop, and the person in this picture actually had to do headstands, wait for the water to still, the ripples in the water to calm down so they could snap this picture. I remember reading it was pretty difficult to do. But yeah, Wish You Were Here is a killer album, and started getting into that and learning about Shine On You Crazy Diamond and who's this Syd Barrett guy and all that. And then right after that was Dark Side of the Moon. Once I heard this, you just knew it was a monumental album, and I bought into all of it. I really did enjoy this album from front to back. At a time when I'm trying to figure out life, this seemed to have it summed up pretty well. I remember going to sleep listening to Dark Side of the Moon through my Sony MDR V6 headphones and Sony Discman. If you have the original press, you have these two postcard-sized stickers, and then also two fold-out posters. The next year in 1988, Floyd would light up Ohio Stadium with laser lights, flying pigs, and airplanes. Some 200,000 watts of power and a 76-foot stage would entertain 64,000 people. This would also be the first rock concert ever held at Ohio Stadium, which opened in 1922. But I was too young really to go to the concert. I didn't really have any friends or connections or any way to get there. So the closest I would ever get to seeing Pink Floyd would be Delicate Sound of Thunder. This opened up my ears to tracks like One of These Days, which had me digging through the CD bin for more Floyd. I believe I found Atom Heart Mother first, but it didn't keep my attention long. And then when I got a hold of Metal, man, what a great album. I listened to it over and over. I remember getting this on CD, and again, just like Dark Side of the Moon, spending a lot of time listening to it and going through and listening to it on my headphones with the Sony Discman. And just incredible album, right from the sonar pings in the beginning all the way to the very end. The final cut was interesting. I don't actually own a copy of that yet, still looking for a decent copy. I found it to be interesting and has a pretty good track list. It does kind of sound like it's leftovers from Pink Floyd, The Wall. And I don't know, it's a decent album, but one I don't revisit very often. I move right past that to Animals, and I really enjoy the Animals album. Where are you? Animals is just a great album. I like to listen to it on rainy days. I know it has, it's considered to be a pretentious project from Pink Floyd. I know they were trying to attack capitalism or bring up more of a political agenda because England was going through a lot at the time. And also the upright, the start of punk rock and stuff like that. And I Hate Pink Floyd, I think was, what was it, Sid Vicious or somebody had that t-shirt on. But I really enjoy the Animals album besides the references to the Animal Farm. But I kind of enjoy this album, just kind of listening to it with my own interpretation. I really like how the first track and the last track, Pigs on a Wing, kind of tie it together. And the song, Pigs, of course, is a pretty cool trip, but really good album. And of course, that's where you see the pig used for the first time in their albums. So I really didn't get into much other Pink Floyd yet. I really didn't pick up their CDs at that time. And besides, I heard that there was a new album coming out. So I believe it was in March 1994 when the Division Bell released, and I remember going to the midnight release. I remember riding my Honda Magna V6 to Media Play down off of West Broad Street. And I remember being greeted by a line that went all the way from the door of Media Play on one end of the parking lot, all the way back almost to Wendy's, which is at the opposite side of the parking lot. I remember parking my bike, getting in line, and then starting to hear rumors about a Pink Floyd blimp landing, and rumors that Pink Floyd would go on tour, do a US tour. I mean, I can remember just imagining, like, man, wouldn't it just be amazing to see Pink Floyd? It'd be a chance of a lifetime. The Division Bell was really kind of an escape album for me too. It was a little bit like the Joshua Tree, where I could take a break from my usual listening diet and kind of relax and enjoy some music that wasn't as fast tempo or as heavy. Pink Floyd, The Division Bell unlocks a lot of memories for me from 1994. Sometime that summer, my friend Jason, by luck and chance, was able to score 4 Pink Floyd tickets through the lottery system. Grabbed the ticket for him, my buddy Mark, and my fiance and myself, and we were just so excited. It was like, dude, we're gonna see Pink Floyd. And it was just an incredible night. I remember parking and walking in as 70,000 people slowly made their way into the Ohio Stadium. It was just incredible. The concert, I mean, when they finally started, lights, started getting darker outside and the laser lights come up. It was just incredible. They opened with Astronomy Domini, which at that time I had no idea what that song was. I really didn't, and I didn't recognize David Gilmour at first. He came out, he had his hair cut short, which I was used to seeing him in long hair, and maybe even like the longer hair from the back, the liner notes from Momentary Lapse of Reason. And I was used to seeing that, but I definitely wasn't used to seeing it short and gray. And I'm like, who's on stage? Where's David Gilmour? What's going on? Then once there's no internet, and I didn't catch any magazine pictures or anything at the time. So there was a little bit of adjustment there, which is kind of funny. But the concert ended up being incredible. I specifically remember, every single person in that stadium singing every single word to "Wish You Were Here."
So you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell it me from a cold steel rain? Smile from a veil.
And of course, when they do Comfortably Numb, just an amazing experience. And I'm fortunate enough to have a live recording or live bootleg recording of that night. So a lot of good memories and just a killer concert. And I would say it's the best all-time concert that I've ever been to. It would be at the top of my list, and it's remained there for many years. Pretty difficult to find, but the Division Tour is available in a couple different formats. You can pick it up as Pulse. And Pulse came out on vinyl as well, but it's a very expensive box set. I'm always keeping my eyes open for it. There's a couple different versions of the CD set, which is really nice. And then also, they released a really nice DVD. So this is one of my favorite DVDs to play. I try to get to play it at least once a year, and it has a very nice digital mix on it. I think it plays at like 640K or something like that. But that's very good sound quality too. But if you want a piece of the Division Bell tour, watch that DVD. But after hearing Astronomy Domini coming out of there, I was looking for Piper at the Gates at Dawn. Started to get into some of the older Pink Floyd and ended up watching Pompeii. Pompeii is just awesome concert. I remember getting very immersed in it. where they actually shoot the footage in Pompeii, Italy. Of course, they incorporate echoes, which I was a big fan of, but I'm also hearing songs like Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun for the first time, and Careful with That Axe, Eugene, and things like that. So then that got me interested in more of the older Pink Floyd. Piper at the Gates of Dawn. This is Pink Floyd's first album. This is a unofficial copy that was released in UK. It's mono. That sounds pretty good. It's decent for a bootleg pressing, but tracks like Interstellar Overdrive are just amazing and way before its time. Astronomy Domini is a good song. I think my favorite track off of here is Lucifer Sam, and I know MGMT did a cover of that on Jimmy Fallon's Pink Floyd Week some couple 3 years ago. Saucerful of Secrets. Like I said, I really like the Pompeii version of Saucer a lot better. This is a pretty good album. It's a pretty good Pink Floyd album. Maybe a little bit of space rock, but definitely a psychedelic masterpiece of its time. One of the early psychedelic albums, especially one of the more popular psychedelic releases. Obscured by Clouds, this is an amazing album. This one holds up today. If you're looking at getting into some older Pink Floyd, I would hit this one before I hit metal, and then I would go to metal. But this is just an outstanding Pink Floyd album. You even get a little bit of David Gilmour's guitar work in it, but then you also have a little bit of blues mixed in and some ambient soundtrack pieces. Of course, there's a couple of instrumentals on here that is really good. And another one, you eventually have to get to as you're going back through the discography is Ummagumma, which is not necessarily a good album in my opinion. I don't care much for it. I don't revisit it a lot. It is pretty cool. You can space out to the picked song. I don't have the GG cover, but if I keep my eyes open for it, but I'm not going to invest a lot of money into it. But this is a US press double album where each of the members of Pink Floyd kind of did their own song. I'm going to end this with The Endless River, the last Pink Floyd album. Some of the songs you can tell are pieced together and some aren't, but I really dig the first track. I do like how the song, there's only one track recorded on side one and then there's one on side two. I don't mind getting up and flipping it over, and I like how they're separated. And they're also utilizing the best part of the vinyl when they do that. It comes in a really nice gatefold with a booklet, custom labels, beautifully pressed, and it sounds amazing too. And once again, they kill it with the artwork with this guy here canoeing along the clouds, and it kind of is reminiscent of maybe the boat and oar scene from Delicate Sound of Thunder. A lot of different eras of Pink Floyd. I like them all. I enjoy the solo works. And I'm really glad that they were able to issue an album, even though it was kind of pieced together from some older recordings. I thought they did a really good job at it and the best they could. So thanks for listening to my story, and keep rocking, keep listening to music, and be right back with something else.